This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Luis DeCubas Sr. out here in beautiful Las Vegas. Luis, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking to you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving up some time. You've got a fascinating story, Luis, but I know that I don't want to take up too much of your time. So we'll start off with the reason you're down here today. You're in the gym. You've been responsible for bringing through a number of Cuban fighters, for helping them kind of make the transition over into America. Talk to me about what you're doing currently and who you're working with currently, first and foremost.
First of all, I'm Ishmael Salas. I've been here for 5 weeks visiting my son. He lives out here, Luis DeCubas Sr. And I've just been coming to Salas. Salas has been a long time friend of mine. I've been in the Cuban business since the Morrell lift in 1980. And worked over every Cuban fighter, from Joel Casamayor, I had him for his first 4-round fight, to Duvelli Hurtado, which became a world champion against Randall Bailey, Juan Carlos Gomez. I had, then the second wave came, the guys then they came in, and Lara, Rigondeaux, Gamboa, Dorticos, I worked with. Now we got the Cuban kid, David Morrell. He's a world champion now. He won a world championship with three professional fights, world amateur champion, beat everybody in the amateurs, the best fighter in the tournament, and is an amateur, and he's making a lot of noise. So, it's just worked with a lot of other fighters. I worked with Roberto Duran. I'm the one that brought Duran back and won the middleweight title with Barkley. That Barkley ride, we fought Victor Claudio, then we fought Juan Carlos Jimenez, Ricky Stackhouse, Paul Thorne, then we fought Jeff Lannis, and we fought Barkley, and then we fought Leonard here at the Mirage in 1989. So I had 23 world champions. I worked with Josevio Pedroza, Wilfredo Gomez, and most of the Latin talent, and it's been a life for me, 40 years.
There's a number of fighters I want to touch on. We'll start with some of the more current ones. Start off with Yordenis Ugas. There's a lot of talk at the minute. What could be up next for him? Have you got any idea if a bout with Errol Spence Jr. will be secured and taking place at all?
Well, first of all, we're working on the David Morrell fight. It's my son. I know has been talking to Eddie about the fight, trying to put it together. I leave everything. They work on everything there. PVC and Eddie Hearns. My son's got a good working relationship with him, so they're talking. And basically, we're ready to go. June 27th. We're training for the fight. He's been in camp now for the last 3 weeks. He's getting good training. Ugas looks like he's going to be against Spence. He's getting ready. He trains right here in this gym. He's in great shape, and I tell you, don't count Ugas out. He's very good with southpaws. He's fought a lot of southpaws in the Cuban amateur system, and I know that when he fought Brian Perella, he was undefeated southpaw, good puncher, and he took him apart. So I'm not trying to compare Brian Perella to Spence in any way, but he is very good with southpaws, so don't count him out.
With the David Morrell fight, there's a lot of UK fans know about John Ryder. We saw him over here as what may have been a potential replacement for Billy Joe Saunders if he didn't fight Canelo this past weekend. How confident are you the John Ryder-David Morrell fight will get over the line? Well,
when we became world champions, with 3 professional fights, I knew I was ready to fight anybody. Anybody came wrong. John Ryder's the perfect guy for us because he did a great showing against Smith. A lot of people think he's a solid guy. I personally think he's made order for Morrell, and I hope the fight can be made. It's a good opportunity for Morrell to fight a guy that's been, fought some top guys and show the world what he can do. To me, I've been in the Cuban boxing all my life. This is one of the most talented guys I've ever seen. The guy can walk on his hands for a couple blocks. The guy's tremendous talent, great athlete. He could be great in any sport. And, we're ready to fight anybody with him. I was interviewed the other day, and I said it very clearly. Guys like Plant, guys like Benavides, Canelo, all those guys pay their dues, and everybody says, Benavides is the boogeyman. We got a WBA champ with Morrell. We're going to fight him too. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not afraid of David Morrell with him. with Benavides. I'm not afraid of anybody at 68. You know, if I start saying now that I think he can beat Canelo with 4 professional fights, I'm telling you, he can beat Canelo. He's a great fighter. Okay, he's 6'3". He's got great movement. He can punch with both hands, and you know, he's a special talent. I work with the greatest fighters in the world, and to me, he's one of the greatest ones I ever seen. After I would have never took a chance putting Joel Casamayor for a world title with 3 fights. I put Rigondeaux in with 5 fights for a world title against Cordova, but you know, he was 28, 29 years old. You know. None of these Cuban kids that came over, Gamboa, I put him for the world title with 17 professional fights, same as Lara. You know, I saw something very special in this kid. He fought De La Cruz, who's a 2-time gold medal winner. He was 17 years old, and he beat him. He beat him every round. You know, and even though they lift up his arm because they wanted to bring De La Cruz to Brazil, you know, with his name. But he won every round, and he's just a special talent. A guy like this comes around every 25 years. Okay, he can do it all. Okay, he can punch, he can box. You know, when I was called to fight Lennox Allen, he is 35 years old, but he's 22-0, and all he does is spar with heavyweights in New York. You know, he's always sparring, he's always in great shape. Plus, it was during the coronavirus, I couldn't get good sparring. And the guy moved, and he's a southpaw, and he won every round. He was coming on after the 9th round. If it would have been a 15-round fight, he would have took him out. So it's that's kind of confidence I got in him. So, you know, we're ready for anybody. We're ready to get to the 27th. We can make a deal with John Ryder 5. Now we'll fight somebody else. I'm not worried about that, you know. And that's where we're at. You know, he's a lot of great Cuban talent coming over right now. You know, a lot of these Cuban kids in the amateurs, you know, they came over. They're hunters now. They're not runners like the old days where they used to be in the point system. Now they come to take off your head. And there's a lot of good Cuban young kids coming up. We got Joel Gomez right now. He's 4-0 with 4 knockouts in Mexico. He's a 10-round fighter already. We got Giovanni Brinzone. He just won the Bridgeweight title. He's 22 years old. He's 6-0 with 5 knockouts. We got De La Torres, Raul De La Torres. He's 6-0 with 5 knockouts. He just won the WBC youth title. And we got a couple superstars coming in from Russia. We got Osami Mesa and we got Joannis Tellez coming in from Russia. When in Cuba there was 4 guys that were all killers, and 3 of them are here already, ready to come to the United States. Joel Gomez, Joannis Tellez, and Osami Mesa. There's one left in Cuba. We'll be here soon. I'm not going to mention his name. But those were like the big 4 in Cuba, you know. They win and lose against each other. And these guys are all hunter, and that's what TV's looking for. And like I say, you know, the Cuban talent is going to be very, very strong in the next 4 or 5 years. Well, the young, great fighters are coming over. And I think it's going to be, instead of Mexico, Puerto Rico, it's going to be Mexico and Cuba now, because Cuba's starting to take over in talent. Puerto Rico's always had great fighters, but the talent level is not the same as it used to be, so there ain't that many guys coming out of Puerto Rico the way they used to be. And I think you need to make good dances, you need the Caribbean guys against the Mexicans, you know, and Cubans have proven they can make great fights with anybody. Casamar proved it when he fought Marcus, and the list goes on, you know, of all the fights. You know, they talk a lot of times about the Cuban fighters, but we had 3 fights in 2019 that were fight of the years. Maria Gossip against Dorticos in Russia. We had Lara against Jarrett Hurd, and we had Ortiz against Wilder. We're all 3 classic fights. And the fans are going to see a new style of Cuban boxing. You know, they were taught to hunt, and that's the way they were taught in amateurs. And it's what makes excitement. Fans want to see, they want to see blood, and that's what they're going to see with these Cuban guys.
Anybody who follows the sport, Luis, knows how successful the Cuban national amateur system is. Why do you think it is that it has produced so many talented fighters over the years, and certainly has many envious eyes around the world looking at it?
Well, you know, it's the Cubans' boxing system, since Castro took over, is definitely controlled. I mean, you had Stevenson, you know, the list goes on. You know, Rigondeaux won 2 world titles. Mario Kindeler won two gold medals. Rigondeaux won 2 gold medals. You know, Damiel Alstein won a gold. The gold medals go on and on for the Cuban teams, and they're all, you know, getting out of Cuba early. A lot of these guys came over, they were 25, 26, 27, Casamayor, Tado, And these kids are coming over young. They're all 20, 21, 22 years old. And they're, of course, it's like I had a company called Team Freedom, which I had a lot of the Cuban fighters fight for Team Freedom. This is the real Team Freedom because they're staying over in different countries all over the world looking for freedom, looking to eat and make some money. I think David Morrell becoming a world champion with 3 professional fights is litting them up. They all know they were teammates with him in Cuba. And they're all, dying to come over here and become world champions. So you're going to see a lot of them in the next few years.
Luis Ortiz, I haven't really heard much of him recently. What is the latest with him?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Luis Ortiz, what is the latest?
Well, Luis Ortiz, they're waiting for a big fight for him. I know there's the fight they're talking about now is Andi, which is it's a good fight, Cuba against Mexico, and that's the fight they're talking about. But other than that, that's where we're at. I know that he's looking for a big fight. He just fought on Fox, I believe it was 4 months ago, and won by knockout in the first round. Now he's looking for a big fight.
Just to stick with the heavyweight division, away from Cuba and yourself, just your thoughts on a potential battle between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, the undisputed heavyweight crown. What do you make of it? And as a manager, can you understand why the fighter seems to have dragged on so long before being made? That's if it is made, that is.
Well, I think that, a fight of that magnitude, I think they're looking for, to have the coronavirus over with and do it. I know they're talking now about August 7th or 14th in Saudi Arabia, again, the same people. And, I think that's the way it's at, just to get the right deal. I mean, these guys want a lot of money to fight. They're going to get paid more than any guys in the history of boxing. And it's going to be a great fight. A lot of people, it's like pick 'em type fight. It's going to be a great fight, and it's great for boxing. It's great for boxing to have those two guys fight. I think Fury is a very colorful character. I brought Charles Martin to fight for the world title against Joshua there, and the results. He looked unbelievable that night. He's a very, very good heavyweight, and it's going to be a great, great fight. Personally, it's very, very close to call. I kind of like Joshua. If he can continue, if he can keep his jab going and keep him at bay, and can fight that type of fight, I think he wins. But it can go either way. They're both great fighters, and they're both in their prime, and it's great for boxing.
And Luis, just whilst I got you, you mentioned Roberto Duran a couple of times during this interview, and I'd love to kind of go back over your work together with him. So can you just take me back to when you guys first crossed paths?
Well, Duran came to Miami in 1985. I just got done last in a big fight against Robbie Sims. He came in. I was a young guy in the sport. 1985. I was a young guy in the business. Nobody believed in Duran. I guess that's why he signed with me at the time. Nobody believed him. I did. I was a big fan of his. And, we had a great ride together. To me, he's one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. I think Sugar Ray Robinson, number 1, him number 2 of all time. So I'm blessed to be able to work with a fighter of that magnitude. He's my daughter's godfather. We're family. And, he's helped me a lot. Every fighters, young fighters, when you work with Roberto Duran, it helps you sign other fighters and get more talent. So he's been a great help for me in my career, and I'm blessed to work with such a great fighter. I mean, when he beat Iran Barkley, he was a 7-1 dog, and nobody expected him to win because of what Barkley had done with Hearns, and to me, it was one of the greatest upsets in the last 50 years of boxing. You got a lightweight coming up from to middleweight. Like I was asked the other day a question comparing Tofino Lopez to Roberto Duran. I said, don't make those comparisons. When Tofino Lopez goes up to welterweight and beats Spence, okay, and defends his title a few times at lightweight, then come to me. But Duran fought Sugar Ray Leonard when Sugar Ray Leonard was his prime. He was 24 years old, undefeated, gold medal winner, and you know what happened in Montreal. So when Duran's a very, very difficult guy to beat. Very difficult guy to beat. Mostly if it was for no money and he was going to make money the next fight, almost impossible to beat.
What did it mean for you personally to defeat Iron Barkley in that world title bout and to shock the world effectively? To beat Iron Barkley, what did it mean for yourself to have been victorious on that night?
Well, it was, to me, to be honest, it was 1989, and it was to me, to this day, it's probably the greatest victory I've ever been in sports. I had 23 world champions. I had a lot of great victories, a lot of great memories in boxing, a lot of great guys that I worked with, a lot of great champions. But that day was very special to me. It was 27 inches of snow. We trained for 2.5 months to turn, Barkley's legs. He went in the ring and he said to me, compadre, I'm going to slug with this guy. And I got nervous, switched the game plan. And after the fight, he won the decision. he said, look at the ring. It was like fighting on a mat. I'm 30 years old. I had to change the game. I had to go into the eye of the hurricane. Not too many guys can do that, you know, and that's why he's great. You know, he knows how to switch to every occasion, and he just knew how to win, you know, and crack both hands, great chin. And to me, it was, again, blessed to work with a guy that good, you know.
Having worked with somebody like Roberto Duran, you mentioned Joel Casamayor as well. Going back to that kind of era, do you feel like boxing can return to that phase that we've previously had, or do you think it is going back in that direction?
Well, I think boxing's it's a very, very good direction. There's a lot of good fights coming up right now. I think that, this Josh Taylor fighting here in Las Vegas, you know, against Ramirez is a great fight for boxing. It's a great fight. That one can go either way too, you know. And then you got Jonte Davis going up to 140 fighting Barrios, which is my son's fighter. It's a very, very good fight. I mean, he's going up 2 weight classes, and the best fights are getting made. You know, I think that eventually, you know, Canelo's either going to fight Caleb Plant, you know, and PBC's got all the guys his weights. They got all the guys his weights. You know, they got Benavides, they got David Morrell, they got Durrell, they got all the guys at that weight class. And I think that Canelo is that's the place that he should be where all the talent's at, so he can get his pick. I mean, he already took care of Smith and Saunders, you know. Now he wants to fight Plant. And I think in this platform it'd be great. I mean, the pay-per-view numbers that he'll do is him and Plant will be unbelievable. I mean, Plant's been built on Fox, and people know who he is. You know, he's from Tennessee, and Canelo's the hottest thing in boxing right now. So they'll definitely do another 70,000 tickets sold somewhere else, and I think they can do $1.5 million to $2 million on pay-per-view, which is a lot of dollars. You know, a lot more I think that he can make anywhere else.
All right, Luis, we'll leave that there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day as the sun beats down on us. I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. And hi to all the great UK fans. You guys are the best fans in the world.